Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have Glen Cadam, 21-year-old, 46% unchilled filtered, no coloring added. Yay! So this is a brand new bottle. This is Whiskybase. Well, it's not correct actually. It's a Whiskybase 160156. Why is this not correct? Because this bottle was bottled on the 9th of October 2015, and the Whiskybase link is for a bottle that was from April of 2015. Now that's kind of funny, to be honest. This is the year 2021, and this bottle I bought just a couple weeks ago, so this has been someplace for almost 6 years. There has not been an additional 21-year-old Glen Cadam since then. So they bottled some, and that was it. What's the price? The price of this over here in Germany is 104 euros. I can still buy it in the UK for under 100 pounds. So there are not that many whiskeys that are 21-year-old that are under 100 pounds or at 100 euros. I know Glenfarclas is one of them, 21-year-old. And then it's like, well, what else? So this is something, if it tastes good, and it does actually, so spoiler alert, this is something you should think about if you can get in your area. What am I going to compare it to? I'm going to compare it to the Glen Cadam 10-year-old. Why? Well, because first of all, I bought 8 bottles of these, and this is almost empty. Why did I buy 8 bottles? Because I did a sherry and a whiskey experiment where I took 7 different types of sherries and actually put them mix them into the Glen Cadam's 10, because this is a fantastic, fabulous, excellent whiskey. And we reviewed and we tasted and we compared, and at least with my sherry, could actually notice a noticeable difference, significant difference between a Fino and a Mozzanilla. At least for the Mozzanilla and the Fino that we had from Lustau. And there was actually a fairly large difference between the Palo Cortado and also then the Amontillado. Between those two, the Palo Cortado was much better than the Amontillado. Just me. I know they're made exactly the same way, at least the Fino and the Mozzanilla. They're just different cities, different locations, but that one was much saltier, much more sea air was in it than the Fino. And the Fino was better. And the Palo Cortado was better. And the Moscatel was the best for me. So, all right. And the Pedro Jimenez PX was nice. And the Oloroso, as they do at the Whiskey Tribe, was actually one of the weakest. Because we're getting sick and tired of it. Personally, my personal opinion. All right, the first thing we need to go back here to Glen Cadam. A couple people asked about the whiskey and the sherry experiment, and I only did it in German, sorry. So we do notice that the color is a little bit darker than the 10-year-old. Well, I hope so. It's been in the cask for 11 years more longer. So apparently, according to Whiskybase, this is made from a combination of ex-bourbon casks and ex-sherry casks. There is literally no information whatsoever about that on the bottle or actually here on the tin. No caramel coloring has been added to this single malt, so that the naturalness of the whiskey from the cask can be enjoyed to the fullest. Yay! So it does say this expression has been bottled at 46% to retain the whiskey's unique and natural characteristic and subtlety of taste. And by non-chill filtering this whiskey, it ensures that the aromatic components of the whiskey are preserved to ensure presence and flavor. Yeah, hay fever season. I'm still working with my allergies here. Don't worry, I can still taste and smell. Every once in a while I sneeze, which I just cut out, luckily for you. All right, so a very, very interesting whiskey. This was recommended to me by one of my super fans. A super fan is someone who supports me on Patreon. So if you go to Patreon, type in Whiskey Jason. I might just put a link down below so you can also support me if you want to. I'm not going to monetize my YouTube at the moment, so this is good. The question is it a B++ good or an A-, good? I like the nose. I get honey. I get candied orange peel. I get the malty sugaredness. I get a little bit of a nice oaky spice. I even get a tiny, tiny little bit of like a very, very faint pineapple moment, which is positive in my opinion. So I could ask the question, does pineapple belong on a pizza Hawaii with its ham pineapple? I say no, but if someone has a leftover piece and there's nothing else to eat, I would eat it, but it's nothing I'm going to order. So, little fact, fun fact that I'm not a big fan of that. All right, good. The Glen Cadam 10. There's a difference here. Wow, this is so holistic. This is so coherent. This is so much honey and just a smoothness and very, very nice. This is actually louder. So if I sometimes talk about the volume, and this would be like a 3 to 4 on the volume scale of 10, and this is a 5. It just pops a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a freshness, a little bit more of a woodiness, a little bit more of a tiny little bit of that lactic acid is in there more than here. If I were to pick the two on the nose, the 21 would win every day of the week. This is so much more of a candied experience, and this is so much more of a nice experience. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So I've talked about this in my German video, which I want to do now as well. And the question is age better? So we've had a few live streams recently in German where we've done some blind tasting. We've had 6 different bottles or 6 different bottlings that we've filled up in all 3 CL samples, sent them out to 46 or 23 people, and we've been doing the tasting. And one thing that's become more and more apparent is the older the whiskey, often the more bitterness and the less likely we are to put it at the front. So we did a Cadden Heads small batch, which was just bourbon casks. There was a 24-year-old, there was a 23-year-old, and the rest were 14 and 12 and so on. The 14 and 12 blew everything out of the water. The older ones were a little bitter, were a little bit too much over oaked, just not really what we wanted. Were they bad? No. Were they great? No. And that's the problem there. And they cost, of course, double, sometimes even 3 times the normal price of a 12 or 14-year-old. I kind of have the feeling that 15-year-old is maybe a sweet spot for single malt scotch at the moment. It can be a little younger and a little bit older, but 15 is actually where I'm very, very happy with the results of the bottles and the barrels. This is 21. Will it be downgraded because it's older? Let's find out. All right, cheers. I like it. I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is almost at the tipping point. There's a wood. There's like the high tide and the low tide, and the high tide comes in. I don't know if you've ever been to the beach, but in Germany, northern Germany, where I used to live, we have the high tide and the low tide. And we go one special area, the beach up in the North Sea. The low tide is about literally over a kilometer out. So you come to the beach and you set everything up and you lay on the beach and it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you've slept for maybe an hour or so and your feet start getting wet. Why? Because the tide has come in. You couldn't see it before. It was literally almost a kilometer away. Yeah, so over half a mile for those of you that don't know. And it comes slowly but surely in. And this is for me as if the tide of the woodiness came in and just right before it was almost too much, it secedes a little bit and goes back. It's got a long, full finish. This is a very, very good whiskey. I'm going to add a tiny little bit of water. No, I'm not going to add a little bit of water. I'm going to add water to this. I'm going to put it down to about 40%. That would be like a half a teaspoon for Ralphie, but I don't have much in here. So why am I doing this? Well, first of all, because everyone that's done this online and reviewed it, at least that people I've read, all said the whiskey gets better. And second of all, I always think you should at least try to experiment with 1 ounce CL, whatever, half of an ounce of 1 CL of whiskey each and every time to see what water does to it. If you have the whole bottle anyways, don't worry, you have 750 or 700 milliliters. Sacrifice 1 milliliter and try to find out what's going on. sacrifice 5 milliliters and find out what's going on. Put a little bit of water, put a drop, put a little bit more, and find out if it gets better. If it gets better, you're happy. If it doesn't get better, well, you wasted a little bit. If it stays the same, all right, no problem. This actually, and sometimes the older the whiskey, the more complex the whiskey, a little bit of water actually opens it up. Mm-hmm. The woodiness of this whiskey subsides a little bit. The fruitiness, even a type of like a mango, a little bit of that pineapple comes in. It's got that old bottle feel a little bit in there going on. I like. In my German video, I gave this a B++. The reason I didn't give it an A- was because of the first, not because of the first pour, because of the pour without the water. With water, it's an A-. Without the water, it's a B+. And to average them out, it was a B++. And that's exactly the same thing I'm at the moment. I'm going to say with water, this is an A- whiskey. I really like the Glen Cadam 21. If you can get your hands on it for a price which is almost acceptable, as I said, it's still available in the UK. At least I found it on the Whiskey Exchange for £99. In Germany, it's still there for €104. This is something I can actually recommend. Is it almost, I get this for €40. Is it twice, 2.5% better than this? Don't think so. If I'm going to go for the value for money, that's the thing. Oh yeah, by the way, value for money. Now, my problem when I talk about whiskey is I divide the taste experience by the amount of money I pay. It does not reflect the age statement. And I know some people buy because of age. I don't. I buy because of taste, and I buy because of price. And divide the price by the taste experience, I'm getting a C to a C+. All right, so A, why haven't you bought it? B, buy it. So both of these were a buy it, at least. C, you can buy it if you want to. D, you don't need to buy it. F, why was the stuff even made? So this is definitely, if you can afford it and you can find it, those are the two things, maybe. First of all, if you can find it, and second of all, if you can afford it, this is something I would recommend, even for that price. I have no idea what is going on in the States. My gut feeling saying it's going to be twice as much as we pay over here in Europe because of scarcity and some other things. Who knows? All right, let's take a look real quick at the 10-year-old, just as a comparison. This is much rougher around the edges. Even a little bit of water, the 10 actually softens a little bit, is a little bit smoother. This is a beautiful dram. This is a fantastic dram. All right, first question. What whiskeys have you had where the water has improved them tremendously? Second, what is your favorite Glen Cadam experience? So far, I've had the Glen Cadam 18. I've had the Glen Cadam 8, which was signature vintage. I've had a Glen Cadam 8-year-old, which was from the ultimate. I've had a Glen Cadam 1825, the rather elegant, the 10-year-old, the Reserva Andalusia, the 13-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 18-year-old, the 17-year-old triple cask portwood, the 19-year-old Oloroso sherry cask, the 14-year-old cognac, and the 13-year-old the port pipe cask. Number blah blah blah. So, and now the 21. I think I've had all of them, or can you write down any ones that I've missed so far that you know of from Glen Cadam? Forget the 18-year-old with the independent bottler. I want the core range. That was number 1. Which one was water? Number 2, the Glen Cadam. And number 3, which whiskey can you recommend at the 21-year-old age statement? What is it? What is something you can recommend? Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for liking. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for sharing. This is one of the videos I'd like you to share and tell others about Glen Cadam 21 or Glen Cadam 10, Ralphie Whiskey of the Year a few years ago, and Aquavite approved as well. And WhiskyJason approved. All the best. See you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.